Hello, welcome to Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show. Okay, so Star Wars Celebration feels like a distant memory by this point, Daniel. Do you still remember it?
Some.
Yeah?
People who went remember it longer.
Well, who knows?
Bit of a dick thing to say. I don't know why I said that.
I remember it quite well. But one of the things that sort of came out of the weekend was there was a lot of sort of props and costumes now on the show floor. Did you get to see these?
No, there was a really big queue for the Episode 7 exhibition. You
Really?
actually queue for it. It was in one of the smaller rooms upstairs. And considering how many people thought that the Abrams panel would be a great platform for news, there were so many good reveals just dotted around the show floor. Probably intentionally, unintentionally, because people don't know what maybe they should hold back. And then this one, which is probably the most kind of tantalizing of all the reveals that we've found on the show floor. And what is it?
They had John Boyega's costume, which you can see behind me here, just there, and obviously he wasn't in it. But behind there's like a tiny bit of
He was there
concept
for
art.
2 days.
Yeah. Hi guys.
Actually, as a bit of a tangent, did you see him, what he did on Instagram? He put a Clone Trooper helmet on and was going around the show floor saying
but yeah, he was walking around with this Clone Wars helmet on and sort of like posing for photos of people, and people didn't know it was him.
So good.
Which is amazing. But yeah, so behind though, there's like a tiny bit of concept art that had a picture of him in the outfit, and just on the side of him is a lightsaber. So it's attached to him. So we haven't seen anything in the teasers or the trailer like of him with a lightsaber for any reason. He's just been in his sort of stormtrooper outfit and a bit of couple of outfits as well. So what's he doing with his lightsaber? Is he a Jedi? So that's what everyone has sort of been speculating, maybe.
It's really it's one of those things where there's been so many rumors about Star Wars, so many leaks, reported legitimate leaks. We don't know what's true, what's not. But there's one idea that's been consistent throughout. Is that Finn, and this is just this general notion of being Force sensitive. And it feels to me like that idea that he might be one of these people, and that's why he's conflicted about being a stormtrooper. The Empire, or now we know the First Order, using people who are maybe Force sensitive to fight for them, and basically deny them proper Jedi training. And kind of appropriate them into what is now, the new version of the Empire.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, is this what's happening with him? Does he get a stormtrooper early on? Does he get it on later on? I actually started to think maybe the actual lightsaber that we see in the trailer, which I think is the one that he's got, that everyone is saying is Anakin's lightsaber, which is what it looks like.
Is that what it is? I haven't looked that closely. So yeah, it's an interesting point, and there's a few things to say. So say he isn't Force sensitive.
Okay.
What they're trying to go for in the new movie, which is something that people always talk about the original and how important it was, this idea of a kind of dirty future, a salvaged future, ramshackled future. And we know that Rey's character, she's a salvager, that's how they described her. There's an idea that you can have a lightsaber and not be a Jedi. Like, you might not be able to use it to the degree a Jedi would and wield it, but you can still use it as a weapon and a functional item, even though it's traditionally the weapon of a Jedi Knight. There's nothing to say that you can't use it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe that there is actually a big plot point in they're trying to find this and return it to someone, and then that's how he becomes involved with Rey, maybe, because she's a salvager. She's managed to get it, so she's salvaged it, and he's got like a little bit of conflict with her because he wants to get it off her, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know whether I should say slight spoiler warning. It says, it's weird to say that because it might not even be true, but there's this thing going around ages and ages ago, like months, when Force Awakens was just announced. And there was a leak or a rumor about how the movie would open. And there's this rumor about how Luke's lightsaber, once his arm is chopped off in the end of Empire, the lightsaber falls and it ends up on a planet, a desert planet, which we now obviously know is Jakku. This is obviously just hearsay, but it would be a great through line, a concept to have this lightsaber, which kind of kicks off A New Hope. It's probably the most important single bit of kit in the movies.
That's what I think it is, and I think it does look like it's the exact same one. And they wouldn't have in the teaser, they wouldn't have that sort of like ceremonial sort of handing over. They make a really big thing of it, and they're saying that because he says it over the line where he says my sister has it, so everyone is sort of saying that okay, if it's Mark Hamill talking, then he's obviously handed it to whoever the alien thing is. It's handed over to Princess Leia maybe, but I don't know.
So go back to Finn specifically. Do we think he's a Jedi? Do we think he has the ability to become a Jedi? And then what do you think about Rey as well?
I don't think Finn is playing a Jedi. I think that he's Force sensitive. He's on a mission for whatever we don't really know. I don't think he's playing a Jedi though. But maybe he, by the end of the film, he becomes you know, someone who they recognize to have the Force in them and could be quite powerful.
I also would like the idea of maybe that he's Force sensitive, but that doesn't mean you are sensitive to the degree you can become a fully fledged Jedi. You literally have something which maybe the Empire and the First Order is exploiting.
Yeah.
So we'll put them in a special unit.
It's like me, I'm a little bit Force sensitive, but I mean,
mate.
That means I'm just really good at making videos. Like, I couldn't be a Jedi Knight. I mean, I probably could, and I'd probably be the best one. But, getting off topic here, what about Rey?
I think there's going to be one chosen one again.
Okay.
Like, there will be something like that, because I feel like if everyone's suddenly a Jedi, it devalues the importance of being a Jedi.
So you really think that's what it's going to be? Like, one of them is going to be like the proper chosen one? Do you think it's going to be Finn or Rey? Or
Rey.
None of them?
Rey.
Do you?
Yeah. I think they'll have a female as the kind of Jedi Knight, yeah.
That's exciting.
And as the true inheritor of that mantle.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like the trailer that there might be a cult surrounding Darth Vader.
Right, okay.
I think that may be what Kylo Ren is, like he is the one that's collecting these artifacts and there's like a cult surrounding this, like basically this fallen angel.
Yeah.
And then I think a true knight will emerge, and I think it would be Rey. I think that'd be really interesting.
That is interesting.
Because also I really like what they're doing with the Force again, because I think prequels try to kind of demystify the Force and give it a scientific rationale, a biological kind of mechanism, whereas I feel like this will take it back to being a source of spirituality in the universe. Yeah. And I think that's definitely the way to go with it.
That's really interesting, Daniel. But what do you guys think? Do you think Finn's going to be playing a Jedi Knight? Do you think Rey's maybe the chosen one? I don't know. Let us know. rebelbase@ign.com.
What's up, guys? Josh Malia here with some exciting news about the Star Wars comic from Marvel Comics. You know, Marvel has the license to make all the Star Wars comics. Their flagship series is Star Wars by Jason Aaron and John Cassaday. They're doing a great job. I'm having a lot of fun with the series. I think you should check it out. But the big news is that there's an artist switch up. Stuart Immonen is going to be taking over the series. Stuart Immonen is one of my favorite comic book artists. He's currently killing it on All New Captain America. He was doing All New X-Men previously. Really, just anything he draws looks awesome. He's got this really smooth, clean, efficient looking style that looks kind of easy, but it's not, because no one does it quite like him. Don't get me wrong, John Cassaday has been doing a great job. Sometimes he tries to make the faces look a little bit too much like the actors in the movies, and it doesn't always work out perfectly. So that's why like Stuart Immonen will be good for this, because he has a more stylistic approach where he just captures the essence of the character and puts them on the page doing cool stuff, lightsabers, cool ships, laser blasts. It's gonna be awesome, and I can't freaking wait. Stuart Immonen takes over Star Wars with issue number 8, so make sure to check it out, especially if you want your eyes to explode like 2 little Death Stars.
Time for another edition of Force Feedback. Daniel, kick things off. What have people been saying, mate?
So the first one is from Henrik from the West Midlands. He says, this is the reason I'm no Hayden hater.
Okay.
Obviously, Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
But he's the recipient of a lot of ire and frustration. Yeah. That's the way it is, mate. He says, this Hayden chap gets a lot of hate.
Yeah.
I personally think he was very badly directed, and he was in badly structured, badly written movies. I feel he became a scapegoat for a lot of fans' frustration.
Definitely.
One of the reasons I support him was a scene that he acted magnificently, and it's a scene where he confesses to Padme he slaughtered all of those sand people. It demonstrated Hayden's excellent acting potential and capabilities, and if this had taken centre stage, it really could have developed the storylines and added to Anakin's complexity and enhanced the tragedy, the cruel fate of his mum, and it was a really crucial point that was underused.
Yeah, I think that's just a really good point.
It's a good scene. It's a good scene when he goes back and slaughters people, but... Oh, sorry.
He is a scapegoat. He is a scapegoat for a lot of people's sort of thing, because...
But there's multiple scapegoats for those movies.
Yes.
Jar Jar's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Lucas is a scapegoat.
Yeah.
He's a really prominent one. There's lots of scapegoats. Jake Lloyd's a scapegoat.
Okay, when it gets to that many scapegoats...
The scapegoat.
I think there's only one scapegoat.
In episode 3.
But, hang on. You can't have that many scapegoats. Scapegoats is one.
It's a biblical thing, yeah.
You can't have, like 9 different scapegoats. Let's decide on our scapegoats.
When there's 9 scapegoats, something's just gone wrong.
Yeah.
It's literally something's gone wrong on multiple fronts.
But, I see his point. It's badly directed, I think.
Yeah.
I really get what he says with that scene.
I think
that
he's
seems a really powerful
scene. He's obviously not a terrible, terrible actor. Is he probably right for the role? Overall, probably not.
Okay.
Is the role as good as it could have been? Probably not.
No.
Either.
Have you seen Shattered Glass?
No.
It's really good, and he's really good in it. It's one of
Yeah,
it's up there with my top 100.
Yeah, and like I definitely agree with what you're saying about some of it being badly written.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of structural problems.
Yeah.
There's some awful dialogue he has to say in Attack of the Clones about sand.
Yeah.
Like the kind of romance scene between him and Padme is just awful.
Yeah, it's not very good. Well, I've got Benny Brown, who's written in. I was pretty peeved that Daniel bottled the Star Wars tattoo at Anaheim last week, although I am glad to hear the celebration's coming to London next year. So this is about Daniel promising to have a Star Wars tattoo while he was at the Star Wars celebration, and then absolutely fannying out because he didn't do it. Do you think that a tattoo may be on the cards when the celebration comes to London, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm going to get damaged.
Yeah?
All over my forehead.
He says, I myself will be getting both of your faces tattooed full size on my back. Then he says, I joke, of course, that would be ridiculous. There's no way Gav's face would fit on my back. It's saying I got a big fat head.
Is my head bigger than yours?
That started off nice. I got a pretty big head.
I've got quite a big head.
Anyway, let's move on.
Let's measure it next week. Taylor has written in, will Disney Lucas ever bring old Star Wars material back into the canon? Is the Knights of the Old Republic games, Force Unleashed games, and other stories not connected with what area of Star Wars is explored now going to return and be official?
Well, I think that's a really interesting point. We actually made it in the show last week, but I cut it out because the show was too long. And what we were saying is there's so much, I think, them not having to deal with their old canon and it being sort of done as Legends Day. It's actually a really good thing because now they just have this like giant back catalogue of cool stuff. They can just go, yeah, we'll have a bit of that, we'll have a bit of that, we'll have a bit of that, we'll have a bit of that.
I was thinking about this over the weekend, and a great analogy is, and obviously something Disney will be familiar with, is Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel are doing a cinematic universe, which is a distillation on 50 years worth of material.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what they have now with all the Legends stuff. They have all this great material that some hardcore fans are really conversant in.
Yeah.
Some people don't know at all. And it's exactly where they are with the comics.
Yeah.
There's stuff that they can adapt, cherry pick, or we need a villain. We can make a new one if we wanted. Or we've got all these cool villains that we can adapt. So I think they might take that approach. Like it's just like tremendous resource if they wanted it to be.
No, that's awesome. Well, that's our force feedback for this week. You can get in touch with us, as always, rebelbase@ign.com. So there's a lot going on with Star Wars Battlefront at the moment. Is it in trouble? A lot of people think it is. We don't really think it is.
Crazy.
People have lost their minds about it. What's happened? Let's take it back.
So the game was announced, the Star Wars Celebration, details were released. 4 locations in the game. Obviously, there'll be multiple maps on those planets. No traditional single-player campaign. There'll be special missions. No space battles. And obviously, some of this stuff, no prequel content. And a lot of this stuff, some of this stuff was in the last Battlefront, which came out 10 years ago, and people were like going, oh, this is such a lesser game. They obviously announced that there was DLC coming shortly after the game came out for free, which would be a tie-in, kind of a lead-in to Episode 7. People, again, some people kind of saying, oh, you're holding back stuff from the game. So there's lots of kind of overreaction. But, you know, it's the nature of the internet. People form opinions very quickly.
I think that's what people obviously, I have to admit, when they said there was no single player, I was kind of disappointed. But then, as you said, like they've got these like they've got these little sort of mission things, and you can play those as a single player. But I don't know, I kind of wanted a big storyline sort of thing for it.
But I think that's the problem with this. Like, I spoke to Patrick Bock, who's he's the GM of DICE. And he's like, it's hard to do a game like this that is canon. Now, EA are doing 10 years exclusive, they've signed an exclusivity deal for 10 years with Star Wars to make those games. And I think within that, there will be games that kind of are canon and progress like small narrative. But this kind of game can't really be canon.
Because anything can happen, I guess.
Because you're doing these crazy big battles which went down a certain way.
I guess
and you can't do a big multiplayer shooter if one side's always going to have to win that fight. It makes it impossible. So they're almost like a fancy thing. So I wasn't really expecting a campaign as such. Like, it's just not that type of game, I think, what they're making.
I guess so. It is interesting. But yeah, people have like really lost their minds about it. One group of people in particular called Gamers United have started a petition on change.org or whatever it is, and like their manifesto reads like it's just mad. Like, it's just spelling mistakes all over it, and it's just, I'll read some of it out for you. It seems that EA has already shot down space battles and the ability to fight in the Clone Wars era. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for the original trilogy, but we all know that EA is going to put these out in DLC content, forcing players to spend more money. So it's all stuff that they're angry about, stuff that hasn't even happened yet. So here are what we, the community, demand. The game will include the Clone Wars era for no extra cost, free to anyone who buys the game, in brackets, with or without pre-ordering. There must be a free space battle map included with a Clone Wars era DLC for free. So like, they've invented this Clone Wars era DLC, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, and with that DLC, which we've just invented and doesn't exist, this extra stuff's got to be in it as well. There needs to be a supported mode that includes AI battles similar to instant action on Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, included at launch or soon after for free. We expect all the content above to be available before the 2016 year. That's plenty of time to get the job done. It's mad.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, right, is like every time there's an update on how many signatures there are, like you can just feel it just slowing down. It's amazing. So the first one, 100 signatures. Nice job, guys. 100 signatures in a little over an hour. 350 plus. It makes me proud to say to at least 350 of you share my opinion. And it keeps on going up. 1,000. Nice job, everyone. We hit 1,000 signatures. Unfortunately, we need more to make EA notice us. Let's try and hit 2,000 by the end of the week. Then went 5,000. Things are slowing down for sure. This petition is losing support. I asked today we rebirth the petition. Start spreading the link. Put it on Star Wars videos and just normal videos. Spread it to Reddit, Tumblr, wherever you can. Post a link. Let's aim for 10,000 people. Tell you what, we're not going to put a freaking link in this show because it's obviously run by a madman.
Frustrated madman, as they often are. But the thing with this is like, you know, like to go back to the No campaign, like, you know, people don't like DICE campaigns anyway. No. Like, they're really good at making multiplayer games. And I feel like, I think this is a weird thing with games compared to other kind of media. Yeah. Whereas a film, you're happy with a director having a vision and making certain decisions. With games, because it feels more content orientated. And it's the way they're marketed. Doing stuff like season passes don't help. Yeah. Where it's like, you get this, this, and this. Yeah. And they're like itemized on a bullet point list. Whereas choosing to not do something isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. It's not like you are getting. It's not like you're getting less content. It's not like the game starts there. No. Yeah. And they take away less. Yeah. They're literally building towards something.
But this is the thing, isn't it? So people have taken the fact that they're saying that it's not in the actual game, the full game, as saying, oh well, it definitely will be available for DLC then. Yeah. But their producer Jasper Nielsen was on Reddit and he said the amount of content in the game has absolutely zero to do with DLC. I can say that with all honesty. Please don't make me break what I can and can't say, but if you think there's anything we're not including in the game to save it for DLC, I can tell you, you are 100% wrong. In this project, I've never heard anyone say, let's not do this for launch so we can do it as DLC instead, ever. And I kind of, like, that's not going to happen, is it? Like, I feel like that people think that, you know, EA are evil and, like, these big companies are evil and they're holding stuff back so they can get more money out of people. Like, obviously their job is to make money, but they're not going to do it in an underhanded way because people just won't do it. Like,
and I think sometimes they make bad decisions on how they carve this stuff up, and it's like priced wrong, it's communicated badly. And I think what is getting scrutinized a lot here is the Battle of Jakku thing. Yeah. Because the game's just coming out in November, I think, and then a few weeks later you get this DLC, and there's a thing like, oh, it's on, you know, it's on the disc, or you know, why is this not on the game? And the reason for it is, I think they just do, this is just a marketing beat for The Force Awakens.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That's the only reason why. It's like, it's just to get you super hyped for the movie. So the game gets a bit of a lift from the movie gets a little bit of lift from the game. Yeah. That's the reason why. I don't think it's, you know, if the game was coming out in December, it'd probably just be in the box. Yeah. Like, or something like that, or it unlocks, like.
Also, it's free DLC, stop moaning about it. Like, just get on with it and play it. I don't know, like, people think they're always being screwed over, I think. That's the sort of thing. And you're right, some stuff is communicated poorly, and some stuff, you know, it does come across a tiny bit underhanded, but just not putting something in and people going, oh, no, it will be there, but it'll be DLC.
Yeah, and also, I'll be really surprised, like, probably be proved wrong, maybe in a few years' time this will be different, but I think right now, just like as all Star Wars in general, I'd be really surprised if they touched upon the prequels. Yeah. I feel like the general message coming out of Star Wars Celebration from Disney is we're not going to be doing stuff on the prequels, really. Like, there's, they showed some of Droid Tales, the new Lego show, and it's R2 and C-3PO recounting the plots of the original, all 6 movies, and Clone Wars and stuff.
But from their perspective?
From their perspective. And it starts out, and they almost like make fun of the prequels.
Really? Okay.
Like saying how boring the intro to Phantom Menace is, or the Ewoks start falling asleep, but it's almost like saying, oh, maybe not. And like everything else they're doing, Force Awakens is tapping into the spirit of the originals, and I feel like this game is, that's kind of what they said, there would be no prequel content at launch in this game.
I'm super excited.
Maybe 5 years down the time, like 5 years into this like new era of Star Wars, they'll be comfortable enough to start tackling stuff from that era. But I think right now they want to go, Star Wars is that kind of era.
I'm all right with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. What do you think? Let us know. As always, rebelbase@ign.com.
Yeah, and for everything on Star Wars between now and the end of the year and beyond, stay right here on IGN.